All right, sweet ride. How's everyone doing? If you're watching this now, you're watching the replay because no one's in by now. Anyway, I got a fun guest, one with a great laugh and a great sense of humor. I got the lovely Miriam Schwab from Strattic. Miriam, so before we'll get into the topic. First, why don't you tell us like a little bit about you? What's your story? Why you started a business? Just a little bit kind of about your background and how you got into Strattic. Maybe a short brief of Strattic first, and then tell us how we got there.
Okay, so I'm Miriam Schwab. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Strattic. Strattic converts WordPress websites to static and headless architecture in one click, which is generally something that's really complicated to achieve. And by doing that, we make WordPress sites faster, more performant, basically unhackable and scalable. And you don't have to change how you do things. Regular WordPress, click of a button, and you get that type of output. So that's Strattic.
Well, wait, what
And
does it mean? A click of a button? Like, what does
like
this click of a button do? Like any
So
button?
you no, so we add a very special button to WordPress. So people, if you log into your WordPress admin, if you have a WordPress site, you're familiar with the WordPress admin. That's where you go in to edit content, add posts, whatever you do. So you do all of that, and then once you're finished making those changes, we add another button to the WP admin bar, which goes across the top, and you just click it, and then it deploys those changes to a static replica of the site. So the static replica looks and acts exactly the same as your original WordPress site, except for that it's kind of just like the front end chopped off of the back. So the WordPress engine, servers, all the stuff that actually can cause quite a mess and a lot of the pain and issues that WordPress users experience, it's all left behind. And the static version of the site it's fast and secure and performant and everything reliable. And you don't have to throw away your existing site to get that. You don't have to redo anything, and you don't have to learn new tooling. You use WordPress as usual, and then you get that very modern, very reliable, very secure output. So that's
Awesome.
Strattic.
All right, so that's Strattic in short. So basically, for someone that doesn't understand this stuff, uh, how would you explain it? It basically, what people think is their actual website. They're not exactly looking at it directly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's people describe it in different ways. The static version of the site, it's like a snapshot, or in a way, it's like a mirror of it. But everything on it looks the same and acts the same as the original site. So if you have a bunch of pages in your navigation on your WordPress site, they're there. If you have forms, they're there and they work. And all the blog posts, they're all there. The pagination, it's all there. We also make sure to support things related to SEO. It's very important to us. So uh, um, if you're using a plugin like Yoast SEO, then your static version of your site will also have all your XML sitemaps, which are really important, and robust.txt and 301 redirects. We support those as well. You can manage those on WordPress as usual, and they get applied to the static version of the site. Oh, and another benefit of the static version of the site is that because it's fully static, unlike a regular WordPress site where the content pages on WordPress are not static files, they don't actually exist. When you
Well, why
view
don't
a
we take a
page
step
on a
back and
WordPress
why don't you
site,
explain what
yeah,
a static is for those that so
okay, yes.
so for those of us that aren't website dorks, why don't you explain what static is?
What did someone just call me recently? It wasn't a website dork, but it was something on that level, and it is
Uh,
accurate.
it was yes.
So static doesn't refer to the interactivity of the site. So it's actually a challenging term because people are like static. I don't want a static site. I want my site to be internet interactive and all that kind
Dynamic
of
or
stuff.
whatever.
So dynamic, and I want people to be able to like enjoy it. There should be images and videos and all this kind of stuff. And all that stuff exists on a static site. The static site means it refers to its architecture. So the architecture is a static architecture in that the pages aren't being generated for you on the fly as you request to view them, which is how it is on a regular WordPress site. And so that's called dynamic architecture. Static architecture is every page exists on its own, they're pre-rendered, and so nothing has to be generated on the fly for you, the user. All the work has been done already before you view the page, so it becomes available to you really quickly. And because of that, you can fully use a CDN, and then
What's
it's fast
that?
everywhere. So, oh yes, also a good question. Ethan, I am a internet dork or web dork, so it's like
Yes,
not
this is what
exactly
this is
below the
what
belt. It was
this is. It's in my was accurately below the belt. Thank you, Eitan. You have the
yeah,
greetings from
it's
Geneva
accurate.
from Smadar. Yes.
Hi,
Uh,
Smadar.
what's
Thanks for doing this.
CDA? What did you say? CDL site?
CDN. So right, yeah, no CDN, CDN. Um, a CDN is a content delivery network. And what that means is that so in the olden days, or in the current days, in many cases for WordPress sites, your WordPress site sits on a physical server somewhere, and that physical server is in a geographical location. So let's say it's in Texas, in the United States. That means that anyone who wants to view your site actually has to, their internet, whatever connection has to travel across the world. Let's say they're in Europe, cross oceans and whatever, and then get your information and then bring it back to the browser. So that can be slow. So the point of a content delivery network is that it creates replicas of your site in what is known as edge locations, as in it's like
Hmm.
locations around the world.
So it
So
doesn't have to travel that
that
far all
person,
the time. It
exactly,
kind of mirrors your site at a regular basis, so you can come in and so you don't have to travel all
yeah,
the way around the world. Okay,
good
got it.
description.
Miriam,
Okay,
you're in
yeah,
the
that's
future.
exactly what it
Is
does.
what I'm starting. I started to like you're in the future. All right, so we already got questions on the topic. So we got any questions? Let's start. Like, what makes a website suck or not suck? Which is a great question. But so. Let's talk about. I think we should talk about the two main topics, and then we can, if we want, we can get into conversion rate optimization, things like that. Um, but so let's talk about secure, and then let's talk about speed. Actually, talk about speed first. I actually, as an advertiser, I care a lot about that. Even though we work with a lot of cybersecurity, we really care about secure. But let's do that too. All
Okay.
right. So secure. What makes a website secure, other than let's say using Strattic? But like, how would you define a secure website?
Someone just asked me, what is the most
I
secure way
mean,
to run WordPress? And I said, can you hear me okay?
yes, I hear you fine.
Okay, okay. I said, don't run WordPress at all. And what I mean is that when you're running a WordPress site or a site that's based on the dynamic architecture that I described, it has many layers of potential vulnerabilities, from the operating system of your server up to the languages and databases that it uses to manage the content. So that's PHP, MySQL, and then WordPress itself. And then WordPress sites tend to have a lot of plugins, and at any given time, any of those plugins could potentially have a vulnerability. So keeping WordPress secure on all those levels is kind of like a cat and mouse game, and it's ongoing and never ending. So the best way to run WordPress is not to run it at all. And what I mean is our approach, which generates the static version of the site, that's what the internet views. That's the only version of the site that the internet can access. And that site has none of those layers of vulnerabilities. They're all left behind in the WordPress site. And that WordPress site is in a special environment that is not accessible to anyone unless they have permission. And it even shuts down when not in use for an additional layer of security. So that is the most secure way to run WordPress. But if you're not going the static route, then I'll just give some quick tips about like what you should do to your WordPress site to at least try to keep it secure. So first of all, make sure you don't have a user with the username admin. That comes default with WordPress, and hackerbots know it, and so they'll just try to ping away at your login page until they manage to maybe figure it out. So you don't even want that to be a thing.
Is
So
this
don't
when you
use
give us
admin.
a list of things to do, and each thing on the list we're like, okay, I'm guilty, guilty, guilty? Is this what's about to happen?
If you feel guilty, that's between you and yourself. You don't need to feel guilty. And no, you really don't, because you're actually like everyone else.
All
That's,
right,
yeah, it's very
that's
common.
even worse.
So no, it's that's why we created Strattic, because 41% of the internet now runs on WordPress, and like it's really hard to keep it secure. So I'll just give a few more tips
Wait,
because
what's the
you've
trend on that fact?
probably,
I'll be interrupting. You can interrupt too.
oh
Is
no,
that trending up or down, or is that,
up. It's crazy. WordPress grows something like 3% every year in terms of its market share, which is
whoa?
larger than the next largest platform's whole market share. So the next largest platform is Shopify, and it's less than 3%. So WordPress is growing 3% every year, and that's after people have been saying for a long time WordPress's days are over. I actually was in that camp for a bit as well. it's legacy, it's old school, it's time for something new. But what I've seen throughout my WordPress career, which has been quite long, I've been in the world of WordPress for like 15 years, is that new stuff comes along all the time. And then everyone goes, this is a new shiny thing. Goodbye, WordPress. And then they try the new shiny thing and it's lacking a lot of functionality, usability, extensibility, and tooling that WordPress has. And then people miss WordPress and they come back to it. And that's happening now, even with this modern trend of what's known as Jamstack and headless. I don't know if you guys have heard these terms, but
I can
developers are
pretend.
very excited about it, and for good reason. You can pretend, yeah, just like CDN. But it's very complicated to use and manage, and so people start with Jamstack and very often come back to WordPress, and we've seen that a lot at Strattic.
Okay, cool. So back to what makes your website suck from a speed issue. Let's start there, right? So for those that don't know, you
Okay.
might think, okay, speed, right? We load a page, we're like, come on, load already. Okay, we get that. But from a marketer's perspective, uh, Google, other search engines, and even social media platforms now increasingly, they want to improve the user experience. So if they're going to click on and leave their platform to your website, they don't want them to be frustrated that they're sending you to a website that loads slowly. So both for SEO and for ads, as an example, search engines demand excellent speed time on desktop and mobile. They also demand security, which maybe we'll get to. So what we need to be able to do is make sure our speed is fast, so we don't get penalized both on SEO and ads. Um, right. So that's the explainer. So what can people do to speed up the site? I mean, in general, right? So people talk a lot about shrinking images, and there's a lot you can do. What are some generic as a WordPress wizard? What are some generic tips you have for people using WordPress or other sites to speed it up? And then if you want, you can, yeah, I'd like to hear more.
Speed and performance is an ongoing battle. It's almost in many ways more painful than the security battle to some extent, because the security battle is it's pretty clear. But with performance, every site is built differently, and so the performance issues come from different places, which is very, very frustrating. So if you look online, you'll find tons of posts that go, here's how to speed up your site. And then they'll say, optimize images, use caching plugins. And all of that is true. Oh, minification. But I'll explain the challenge with all of them, which is not going to make anyone feel better about anything. So optimizing images is actually like a pretty easy win. You can't really go wrong with it. You, with your eyes, can see if an image is over optimized or not. Like that's the issue with optimizing images. You don't want it to lose the quality to the extent that it stops being a useful or beautiful image. So, but you can shrink it, and then that's great. Um, Minifying CSS and JavaScript, which means like when you write code, you have spaces in between, so it smushes everything together to get rid of the spaces, which are considered characters as well. But it often breaks things. So that's like hard. Caching. So WordPress has a lot of caching plugins that you can install. Some of them have pretty good out of the box default settings. So a very good caching plugin is WP Rocket. People have good results with the default settings. And the reason I'm emphasizing default settings is because when you look at any of these caching plugins, you'll see like a billion options. And then it's really complicated and confusing, and you can easily overcache. Overcache means you cache your site to the point where if you make updates to your site, it doesn't get published and people can't see it, which is very frustrating. And if you undercache, then you lose the benefit of caching. So that's really challenging. I think that one of the best things that people can do to speed up their site is to choose a high quality hosting provider, because that already will make a difference. Like some of what can slow down a site is like load on other pages on your site, or if you're like on a lower tier of hosting, you're on shared hosting, and so if other sites are getting load, that will impact your site as well. So and you can try to use a CDN, but CDNs can only be partially used on regular WordPress. So I'm sorry that I don't have like great news or like a one trick pony type thing here, but it's a very frustrating thing. Oh, and I'm sure all of you have run your sites through Google PageSpeed Insights or a Lighthouse, and there's always remove render blocking JavaScript. Okay, no human being can remove render blocking JavaScript. Like you need a developer, and it often can demand quite a bit of work to restructure your page so that stuff loads in a better order. And yeah, it's really frustrating. And Google's going to be rolling out their Core Web Vitals update soon. It's supposed to be mid-June, so let's say next week or something, and we'll see what that means for
Yeah,
everyone. But in the meantime, I feel like the internet's freaking out over it, which is
it's probably just
annoying,
your
in
circle
my opinion.
that's freaking out. Uh,
Maybe, I don't
we're all in
know.
our
Yeah, it
bubbles.
could be.
Anyway, a LinkedIn user, I think is Ayala, it's a good explanation on CDNs. We're going to get back to what your
Okay,
website
thanks.
sucks and doesn't suck. That will be a recurring fee. Dan says, what about InSession Popups and self-promoting banners that take it
Oh,
over your screen? Yeah, I think I
is
think
that
Dan
like
need to get something off his chest, which I thank you for you're
wait,
speaking for us all,
Dan? Are you
though. I
talking about
appreciate it.
someone specifically?
Is there
Yeah.
like
No, it's
today, an
terrible.
example? They don't still do
No,
that, do
indeed.
they?
No, so a lot of media sites, unfortunately, still do, that, especially in Israel, they still do that. But they're going to be penalized. That's, I guess, the good thing about the Core Web Vitals. The Core Web Vitals is looking for things that happen on the screen. It's called a cumulative layout shift. Like, does the screen look one way and then shift another way? Which is what happens with pop-ups, right? Like the screen loads and then suddenly there's something else happening on the screen. And Google no likey. So sites are going to have to stop doing that and figure out other ways to spam us and whatever. But that's not going to go over well. And so yes, that sucks. Dan, you are correct.
What about exit pop-up when you're about to exit the page and they have a pop-up? What's up with that? Is that going to be also because that's commonly used in B2B companies, tech companies,
Yeah,
and actually to good
right.
success often. So
Totally. Um, so with the pop-up ads on the exit, it's one of those things where it's always like it's an annoying thing, but it's effective. And
yeah,
I don't think it's too intrusive in general. Like I don't love it, but I just click X and I'm out of there, and that's fine.
will they be
I don't know if
penalized?
Google's going to notice that. I wonder if that would even pop up for Google's bots because it pops up when someone's leaving, right? Like about to leave,
Correct.
or the site thinks so. It's possible that for a lot of Google's tests, Google page speed and Google has like way too many ways to get a score for your site. Google page speed insights, Lighthouse, and then in the dev tools in your browser, and they all can show you different things. But Google PageSpeed Insights is based on humans, and Lighthouse is based on like lab. They call it a lab, which is their robots. I imagine that most tests wouldn't show that type of pop-up because it's not the first thing that's happening; it's the last thing that's happening. So yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to say at this point until Google rolls this out how it's going to impact people. I actually wonder, is Google going to roll it out and then everyone's going to like suffer, or are they going to roll it out and then it's just going to have made like almost no difference to anyone?
Probably
It's
the latter.
possible. It's very possible it'll be the latter.
Uh,
Like everyone's making themselves crazy, and maybe they don't have to. I don't know. But I would still say, regardless of Google, let's say forget Google for a second, you want your site to be fast because it's a better user experience, and it can help your site perform better for your business. Like the faster your site is, the longer people stay there. That's just statistically. The higher chance of them converting to leads or customers, whatever you want them to do. The higher chance that they're going to spend more time on other pages. So in general, you want to offer a better user experience. But you can have a fast site with poor core web vital scores. So if it was up to if I and I don't know what's going to be, I would say focus on speed. Just try to make your site experience faster for humans, and hopefully Google will follow in terms of seeing the benefit of that.
Are there just a couple quick comments? Madar, I didn't understand your question about LinkedIn and Twitter, what they use. If you want to elaborate, that would be great. Yeah, we'll talk more about user experience, but you mentioned Google a lot. Do you think there's something another search engine does better than Google, other than security, which there are many, and privacy, which are many? I know some people are saying DuckDuckGo and Brave are actually better search engines. They're not like humanly filtered. Also like manipulated, so they're actually more accurate and better in some ways. Um, are there better search engines in your opinion? Like, is there something other search engines do better?
I still don't think so. Um, I think Google search results are the highest quality still. Um, And so that's why people continue to use it. I think DuckDuckGo has a lot of potential and promise. And I wish and hope for the internet that they will succeed and become so amazing that people will just focus on them for privacy, and just because Google's like a crazy monopoly that kind of just encompasses the whole web, and that's not really healthy for
No, it's not. Did you
anyone.
hear what their diversity person said? If I were, I don't know how I could be a Jew because I
Mm,
want to kill a bunch of murder people. This is the head of diversity at
yeah,
Google.
our president. I know, but that's one person in I don't know how many people in that
Yeah,
company,
it's the head of
hundreds of thousands, I
diversity,
think. Yeah,
ironically, right? Head
I
of
know it's very
diversity.
ironic,
It's not a
but that
random
was one
employee.
person.
It's
Yeah,
beyond,
I
it's
know.
not ironic. I think there's a coincidence there, but whatever. Anyway, so back to user
Yeah,
experience, right? Dan says, I think timing and frequency, the pop-ups take, yeah, frequency is huge. Google Ads is good about this, actually. And side note, so in display and YouTube, you can actually choose the frequency, how often someone sees ads in the ad group and campaign. So Google Ads figured this out years ago. So I'm assuming their robots are taking into account timing and frequency too, for user experience. It's a really great point. All
yeah,
right,
that's a
cool.
good
So
point.
other than so you mentioned a bunch of things. People talk about site speed, and those are the main things. But what about security? You said don't use admin, all right, because people know to do
Don't use
that.
admin.
And I can't do.
Yeah,
And
people know
should
stuff
I
for that.
change my password from password 123?
No.
No.
Oh,
Okay,
maybe
that's fine.
password 1234 is better. It's
That's actually what it
longer.
was. I didn't want you to give it away. Thanks, Thanks, Miriam. Dude, you're really ruining this for
Everyone's
me.
going admin, password one
I
two three
didn't know.
four.
Someone just shat their
Now the
pants,
internet knows.
because they didn't before. So other than all right, so making sure
Have
which, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Don't use admin. Have a complex password. Don't follow Yoel's lead on that.
Right. Do see, like I
um,
said, I do the opposite of everyone else. I hope that's the case. Yeah. So don't use
You're
admin.
like, nobody's going to try that anymore. Yeah,
No,
don't use
I don't have
admin.
admin.
Have a complex password, and complex passwords, make sure your password's not the same on multiple places. I'm just saying that out loud.
Although you say that, but people
Um,
don't understand why. Because even if your password is totally
oh,
secure and you never gave your WordPress password to anyone, this goes for anything. If you use that password for something else, um, let's say something that's a waste of time, like Facebook, and you log in, you use that same password, and they steal it, right? Because of a security breach from Facebook or Target or wherever, and then they'll just run that and a
try
million other
everything.
passwords with admin and whatever, and they'll eventually get in. And so that's the
Exactly.
problem with duplicate passwords.
Yes.
All right. So
That's exactly the point.
other than unique
Those.
password and a unique email,
Um, Make sure you're using an SSL certificate. I think that pretty much everyone
Miriam,
is by
what's an
now, but
SSL
like
certificate? I think everyone has an SSL certificate, right?
by now it's like some once in a while I'll still come across sites that don't have an SSL or it's not fully implemented. Like it's still serving up what's called mixed content. Like some of the URLs in the site are still HTTP and they're not HTTPS. But SSL is an encryption thing. If you'll know that a site
A
is
good
has an
adjective.
SSL certificate because I know thingy.
Yes.
Because
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Thank you.
you see, yeah, I know it just explains everything. So it's an encryption
Every thingy,
thingy,
not everything.
and if you look in your address bar when you're on a website, if there's like a little lock next to the URL, and also it says HTTPS, not HTTP, then you're okay, and that site is a reliable site, more or less, to view. At one point, and I'm sure it's continuing, a lot of hackers were using SSL certificates that they acquired from a free service called Let's Encrypt to make their sites look more legit, but they were not legit. So it doesn't always mean it, but it's still good in general. So do that.
How long until this
And
isn't? How long do you think until this is just fun speculation? How long until the SSL certificate is no longer secure enough that we're going to need like an SSSL certificate?
oh my gosh, that is a good question, and I can't even think about it. I don't know. It's true. It's like a constant race.
Does that
I hope
worry
they will
you?
continue. No,
What
no,
worries you
it doesn't actually.
about
Not
the
much,
stage of WordPress? If
actually.
you want to talk about your personal life, you can too, but or other things, but which is totally cool. But at least like in your like looking at the future and the future of, let's say, website security, website speed, where WordPress or website building is going, is there something that you think is a drop of security, speed, quality, integrity, or anything in when it comes to websites or
Um,
WordPress?
so a few years ago, I might have said that WordPress really needs to work on its user experience, like in the admin, because it was starting to feel really clunky and like not intuitive. I mean, it never was, but they could get away with it when everything was like that. But like as web builders came along that are drag and drop, so you can like drag and drop a site into existence on Wix, and a Squarespace is easy, and like there's just all these web building platforms. WordPress's page building experience was feeling very frustrating to non-technical users or users who didn't have a lot of experience with WordPress. So, but uh, there's an interesting project in WordPress called Gutenberg, and it's a page
Gutenberg. That's fun to
building.
say.
Gutenberg. It can be fun with a few shots first, I
Gutenberg.
would
I don't know.
say.
Yeah. What kind of shots? You're
Yeah.
talking alcohol, right? Not the
Um,
other, not the German shots. Okay. Sorry.
um, so yeah, so that helps improve that side of things. And in terms of what worries me about WordPress, I don't know. It's going strong. Like there could it's I hope that people continue to look at WordPress as like not like whenever there's tools that feel too comfortable. If you remember the days of Yahoo, that was the king of search, right? And like if you get too comfortable, then you stop trying to always be the best. But I think for now, and for the foreseeable future, WordPress is in a very secure place. Not security wise,
Right.
but
What's when Strattic becomes a unicorn and you get bored of all this winning? Rumors have it you plan on creating a WordPress competitor. Is that true? That's like a dream of yours. No? Okay.
no,
Wait, did I get
that's
something
the last
wrong?
thing I'd want to do.
I know, I
Oh my
know. That's like
gosh.
your partner. I know it sounds terrible, but it's just. I mean, let's say compared to most people I speak to, it's just like you just comes out of your face. It's just like such that knowledge and passion and energy on it. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's
I like,
refreshing.
of
I
course,
love when
that's a
people, you know.
thank you. Well, I hopefully am applying that now at Strattic because I get to like build, I don't know, help WordPress be better for everyone. And so, yeah, I love doing it. I guess that comes across.
Got it. What are the greatest challenges for to be able to just do you think is people do people not care about security and speed? It's kind of just like they just need a destination online, kind of like an you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Uh, People tend to care about speed more than security. Security is kind of like health insurance, or you're
Life
like,
insurance, right?
oh,
It's a good point.
do I need it? Oh shoot, I should have had it. That
Right
that kind of
after, it's
thing.
like, oh, I'll get it next week,
Yeah,
because you know what I mean.
yeah,
I'll buy when
yeah.
I'm
I'm
dead.
fine. I'm fine. Right, and then oops, I really should have had it. And so with security, it's hard for people to feel its importance until they experience how important it is. But the like when you're talking about larger organizations and companies, first of all, they've been around enough, they've probably experienced a security breach of some kind. They don't want to ever go back there again. Or as a company, they know that they have to try to never have a security breach because that would look terrible for them. So then they do take security seriously. Weirdly, companies like kind of ignore their WordPress site very often. Like they'll have, their own applications and all that stuff that's running, and they're like constantly trying to keep it secure. And then, but they have this other application that's running, which is WordPress. It's a piece of software. It's the window to their company. This is how everyone perceives them, sees them, and how they generate leads in many cases for SaaS tech companies, for example. And they're like, whatever will be fine. There's no whatever will be fine. People are coming around to the importance of treating their WordPress site seriously. But I'm often surprised. I'll talk to like pretty sophisticated companies, and they like are using a cheapo outsourced dev that can barely speak English to maintain their WordPress site, which is their lead generating machine. Like, why is that the place where you're trying to save on costs when it's such an important tool for you? I don't know, but people do understand, and so the ones who are more savvy are looking for solutions, and the ones who are even more savvy already know to be looking for headless and static solutions for WordPress, and so when they find us, they're pretty excited.
That's cool. Do people get more savvy than that? If they do, their last name is Schwab.
Like no, oh yeah, super savvy.
So LinkedIn has this new feature that they're like testing and growing. I'm curious your thoughts on this. probably, or you may not have any, I don't know, that basically they're trying to like start building landing pages in your website on LinkedIn on your business page. So
What? I don't understand.
yeah, so basically like let's say right now, let's say you wanna have a case study, right? Or a testimonial
Yeah.
or whatever. Instead of or in addition to having it on your website, it can be a tab on your LinkedIn page and you can actually customize it, drag and drop like Wix. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word in front of you.
I
But
know you are. It's
so
fine.
I am okay. What word bothers you the most? Is there like one word that like gets people angry in the industry?
Oh my gosh. Well, people definitely get angry about Wix in the industry, but I do not. So it's okay.
Why?
It's
What's
another
up
web
with that?
builder.
Why does it bother? Why does it bother people? This
Oh, it's like a
41% market share.
rivalry.
Are people too tribal?
Yeah,
It's
it's not
like they're
enough.
in
No, WordPress is
sports
41.
or politics, which we're not allowed to talk about, or like Wix, WordPress. No,
Yeah, it's almost like that. Like two teams. Like, oh my
it's a
goodness,
tribal
it's
thing, right?
fine.
It's a team. What team are you on?
To a certain extent. I mean, the rivalry between the two platforms goes back to the founders, but I'm not going to get into that because that's
Oh
off the
wait, really? I
record.
didn't
But
know it was personal. Now, nah. See, I knew I knew you'd gossip. What's the scoop, Miriam?
what's the hot goss about WordPress?
What's
Well, y'all,
oh my God.
I
Do you
will
have a
tell
podcast?
you.
Miriam, are you doing a WordPress? Are you doing a podcast, a WordPress podcast?
No.
Why not?
Oh, I have like 20 meetings a day, and I have to do other things with my children in the other hours, and like, I don't have time.
Send your kids on those meetings, and then you have time. I have to take the meetings for you.
What, I should do a podcast about WordPress soon?
I don't know.
I think a
It
lot of
seems like
podcasts about
look, you're
WordPress.
passionate. You know your stuff. You know the background. You're not like new to this stuff, right? You put your skin in the game, right? So,
Yeah.
right, you guys have wonderful funding by great founders. So anyway, I just thought it would be. I don't know. It seemed like people want to hear what you have to say,
Yeah.
and most importantly, you have a great personality. But anyway,
Go
if you don't
on.
want to, that's on you. No, I'm being serious. People say that. I mean, you're funny. You have a good sense of humor. Anyway, so yeah, so do you see that? So the Wix and WordPress thing, what is this a tribal thing? Does it really matter? Is this two different markets, right?
So yeah, like I'm obviously a huge fan of WordPress, right? I've been in the WordPress world for 15 years. I organized 5 WordCamp conferences in Israel. I've flown to WordPress conferences outside of Israel to speak. I'm very actively involved, and so go WordPress. But when people ask me where they should build their website, if they're like a new business, they don't have the resources to like have WordPress implementers or developers build a site for them. I'm like, go do it on WordPress, on Wix. Go to Wix, drag drop. You'll have your site. You'll have your 5 to 10 pages. It's great. You'll start off with a web presence, and it will cost you very little, and you can do it yourself. It's really great for that. In my opinion, Wix is good until a certain point. Like when you need your site to actually work for you and bring you results and be a useful tool, then it's time to move to WordPress. But then hopefully at that point, also the business is at a stage where it can handle like the complexity of WordPress because it is a bit more complex. Um, but other than that, Wix is great, and Wix powers I don't know millions of sites, and it's always growing. And good for them. Good for them. They're targeting an audience that needs it. But they recently had like a round of ads that they published. I think only on YouTube, but it was Wix versus WordPress ads. Wix did these ads, and it was like just totally like bashing WordPress on every level. Um, People in the WordPress community got very offended by it. I actually thought some of them were really
Why?
funny.
Why do they get
Why
offended?
were
I
they
saw
offended?
one of them. We shared it around our Wadi digital team. They were funny. They're.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
there
punching
was.
up. Like, what is it? Market share 1% versus 41 or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fine,
I was
go
like,
for
just
Wix.
take it on the, just take it. Like,
What else was it? I know it's fine. Like, and
cool.
also these are
Are
problems that
people
a
overly
lot of people
sensitive
in
in your
WordPress.
industry?
Um, it's a huge industry, so there's going to be sensitive people. People are more sensitive and less. Maybe it's good to be a bit sensitive. I probably should
Mhm.
be more sensitive to things and get offended more often, but I don't.
No, no,
But,
it's not worth the energy.
no,
It's
no,
not worth the
exactly.
energy.
And it's fine. And like also, it's lacking self-confidence in the industry. Like WordPress is going strong. It's growing way more than Wix's total market share. Like it's okay that they put out some ads that I don't know how many people saw them,
No
and
one
some of
did.
them were actually funny.
I think it
Yeah,
it
only
was probably to
people.
troll WordPress lovers.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent. Yeah,
That's what it was
but
for, which is I love the internet trolling. I think it's great. I think we need more of it and should be welcomed because you can
I
like
mean,
no, it
maybe.
makes things fun, right? Like you can like why not?
Right.
Like it's never personal, and if it's like tongue in cheek and you know what I mean, and it's it's like it's fun.
Yeah,
And
if
by the way,
it's
you don't
done.
think WordPress will
Yeah.
improve based on I saw the one about like was it like the connection or the speed? It was like I don't know, pausing. I don't remember. It was like glitchy. One of their ads making fun of WordPress or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, so fix it and do an ad back. I don't know what's the big deal.
No, right. Or don't do an ad back. It's fine. We can all just ignore it. But part of that campaign was that Wix chose WordPress influencers, I don't know based on what, and sent them a box. And the box said top secret. And then it had a QR code and you open it up and it was like these really nice Bose noise canceling headphones. I was one of the fortunate people to get it. And I was very happy to get it. Great. Thank you, Wix, for the amazing headphones. I gave them to my son because I just use AirPods because they're smaller and easier. Like I like them better, but my son's very happy. Thank you, Wix. Like I'm not going to be offended by that. And people were, and then there was the whole thing. Why didn't I get them? Why did you get them? And then why are you sending them to us? We're WordPress people. Whatever. It's fine.
Don't get more sensitive.
Okay, fine. I won't.
Good, lovely. Okay, so back to people. Let's talk a little bit. Last final things. Anything else about security that you would think people should know about their website,
Oh,
or is
I'll
it
just give
kind
one
of
more
like I'm too
recommendation.
small?
So if you are running WordPress like in standard way and like you're not really a security person, I do recommend installing a plugin called Wordfence. It it can slow down your site because it does a lot. But on the other hand, it limits login attempts. One of the ways that hackers try to get into the site is they'll just keep pounding your login page.
Hmm.
So when it sees that there's like suspicious activity like that, it will block the IP, which is good also for performance because in my agency days, we had a site that was DDoSed just because of the login attempts. Like that
Uh-huh.
constant hammering of the login page took this took the site down. That's WordPress.
Jeez.
So yeah, crazy. So
By the way,
WordPress
this
is
this
pretty good.
happens to me all the time. I like forget my password for Bank Lumi. Like damn it, and
Oh
like
my
locked
gosh.
out. Come back
Again,
24
let's
hours.
all learn from Yoel how he manages
Right,
his
and then I change my
passwords. I
password, so
hope.
then I never remember it again, and it won't let me use an old
Well,
password.
you know why I'm not remembering your Lumi password because it's not password 1234. It's just unfair that it can't be that
I keep adding a digit and I forget, so it's that,
to make it complex.
So I remember it was
Oh.
I think it was at 1 2 or 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 because it doesn't have a 5 at the end.
You're like, which
Exclamation
one?
and
Can I
hash
use
sign.
five in this one?
Yes, 1 1. This is like the old days of
Yoel
passwords I
security
can use.
expert.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was like my MySpace password. Like back in the day when no one didn't, when passwords didn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like when they're like security, what's that? It was a joke.
Right.
Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Those days.
Miss Penrod says that those commercials are hilarious. I agree with her.
They were
Um,
hilarious. So
yeah,
free to
I
laugh.
think I only saw two. I don't know how many there were, but
The
anyway,
one
yeah. I
about
think
the plugins with the conflict. There's one called about plugin conflicts. If you can find it, it's really funny. The plugins start like slapping each other. It's really
oh,
good.
oh yeah, I didn't see that
So
one. I'll
yeah,
have to find it.
yeah, it's
Anyway, I'm
good.
sure you can look up Wix versus WordPress videos,
Yeah,
commercials. All right, so let's talk about maybe a little bit about maybe like conversion optimization or just you've seen so many websites, right? I mean, so
I
much.
have.
So you have this. This is where we're redoing our site in 3 months. We're bringing someone on just for that.
Wow.
So it's been delayed and delayed. Like we don't need to, but it's like we're very busy and we've.
Oh, it's the story of all of our lives. And my agency, we like redid the site once, and then we should have redone it like since then,
I
and we
know.
never
Well,
did.
last
And
time I
with
made it, I was
Strattic,
like boutique. It was like me and a freelancer, right? But it's like a
yeah,
boutique look, and now it needs more who my clients are. But then I
it
asked a
makes sense.
client about. I asked some clients about rebranding, and they said like, "Why would you rebrand? You have a fantastic like name and image and things and
Yeah.
like do you need more business?" I was like, no, like we don't need like, so why are you wasting your
But
time managing?
it's
It's
not
like, right.
exactly connected to that, like rebranding, but but I agree with whoever that person was. Like, your name and your company name are very strong brands. Like, don't change that. But
Right. But the look
I'm
and
not
the
saying
feel,
that you
yeah, no,
need
I
to,
need to.
but you could like refresh, I love the
Yeah.
concept of the wadi, and like you could keep that like
Right.
sunny
Yeah,
whatever.
we're looking
But
at it, maybe
maybe, like a little
animating
bit
the
of a
logo.
refresh, and you're good.
Well, the funny thing is that like I go on my website the least. You know what I mean? Like, how often are you on your
I
website?
know.
It's
Oh,
like
I
it
spend a lot of
doesn't
time
even
on there.
occur to me. Someone's like, "Hey, you have
Yeah.
this like thumbs off like with one of your pages." Someone sent me like an email, like, "Yo, like by the way," or through the site, and I was like, "I didn't know we had that page."
Oh my God, that kind of happened to us. We like, and I
Like, I
spend a lot
haven't
of
been in
time on
my,
our
you know
site,
what I
but
mean? I know that's terrible, but like,
I
how
know
often do people go to your website?
I
Like,
I'm in my I'm in my site because I send like content to people because we have some useful blog posts and some
it's your
other
blogs. Right,
resources and
that's
our
the way to
features
do it.
page. So that I send, but we were like, we need security content, and we're like, we're gonna write new security content. We don't have like a page for it. Rebecca, who I've been working with since my Illuminate days, we both forgot that we had sat together and written this page about security and published it on the site, and we were about to do it again. That was a stellar moment.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a funny thing about people don't really go to their websites. It's kind of like anyway. I should
yeah,
probably check more in my analytics more, but I mean, I don't know. Thank God
yeah.
I'm not. Thank God we're doing okay. Awesome. Great. All right, Miriam. Anything just a little bit about kind of like how does one if someone like gets interested in WordPress or websites or like or maybe coding or I don't know. How do you recommend like or one thinks they might be interested in this as a vocation as a career, right? How would one find out whether this is the right direction for them, and if so, it is such a large industry, like every industry, right? There's so many segments and niches and different skills that involve different parts of the brains, different personalities. How would one make a decision on how to focus and see if this is some, or it may just be a talent to add to their talent stack? How would you advise someone?
Oh, adding it to their talent stack is really highly recommended, especially if they're going to be working in anything related to marketing. If you can say that you have a lot of WordPress experience, that's very valuable because everyone's using it as their marketing tool. So, um, I mean, it was way back when, but I find that you can look up online. There's like WordPress 101 and Learn WordPress. There's like I would start with something like that where you get to understand WordPress not from the coding perspective, but from the usage perspective, because there's a lot to learn around WordPress, like what's the difference between a post and a page, and how do I manage navigation, and what are custom fields, and how do I install a plugin, and how do I manage the plugins, and hosting and security, and like I don't know, there's a lot of stuff. Um, but I found I always found that the best way to learn is to like actually do it. So even if you want to learn how to manage WordPress in general and understand everything that it does, um, to get some cheapo hosting, install WordPress, and just start using it. And also, you can go to WordPress.org and download the latest version of WordPress, and then just take a look at download it. It's a zip file. Open up, look at the file structure, and look at the files that are in there. Just kind of take a look around to see what that's all about. You'll notice particular top level folders that are important. So like WP-admin is where all the admin level stuff happens, and you never ever want to change the code there. In the old days, people used to change the code in there, and then there would be WordPress update and overwrite whatever you did, and then it was not pretty. And then there's the WP content folder, which is where like the dynamic stuff happens. So the plugins and the themes and all that. And so it's just interesting to see that. And then you can see the PHP code that's used to write all this stuff. And I would install that on a server, and then you can start editing the files and see what that does to the theme. Like the theme is the template, so make a small change, and then like you'll see how it gets applied across the site, and you'll start to understand the structure around that. If you want to go to that level, it's probably a good idea to learn JavaScript in many ways. It's useful for WordPress and it's useful beyond WordPress. So it's a good skill to know. And like maybe sign up to like a bunch of WordPress related newsletters or like follow different blogs that are writing useful content. There's a lot of useful content out there. Some
Does
of
your blog
my
have useful?
favorite,
What about your blog? What about Strattic's blog?
mm, like we have content related to static WordPress and related to just like our features. It's not useful that way, but we actually wrote a few really good ebooks that I think people could enjoy. Ooh, I should share a link to that.
There you go.
I'll put it in the comments after. It's one is called the something like the Ultimate Guide to Headless WordPress, and it explains this whole new approach to WordPress, what the benefits are, the challenges, and then of course we explain where Strattic fits in, and we wrote another one that's more geared towards developers called the Static First Guide to WordPress. So it explains what you should keep in mind when you're building a site if you want it to be static ready, like if you want to be able to also run it in a static publishing platform like Strattic. So I'll share links to both of those and people can download them. They might find that actually useful. So
Sweet. Yeah. Or you can check out, I guess, strattic.com/blog. Is that a fair guess?
yeah, you are correct. That's what
Okay,
it is.
good.
But the ebooks aren't there. We're like trying to launch a resources section.
Oh,
No, not yet. Soon. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Like everyone else in their marketing plans, coming soon.
We have a lot
You're not
coming
alone.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. Like we promise to get more content for SEO. We promise. Okay, when next?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not.
Soon.
It's not easy. I see people are kind of moving away from content a little bit. They're saying, not from SEO perspective, but people say it don't really lead to many opportunities and whatnot. Greater resources such as ebooks and white papers and guides. I feel like a lot of blogs is just a lot of noise, a lot of the same shit. Even if you're in an extremely technical field and it's done more for SEO and then there's no value add. Thoughts?
To create ongoing content that's really useful is really, really challenging. There are some companies that manage to do that. There's one in the Jamstack space that creates amazing content. They're called
What's Jamstack? Is that a brand? Is that a high school band? I saw them on Warped Tour, right?
I've been talking. Well, no. It's So I keep talking about static, and static is such a boring word. So someone realized nobody wants static, so they created this new term called Jamstack, which sounds like a stack, which sounds cool. And then you're not saying the word static, but it's kind of applies to the same
Or you
thing.
can just add an R in the middle of the word and call it Strattic.
Yeah, I don't know why people aren't doing that. Listen up, world. That's the new
lead by
term. Just Strattic everything, people. Strattic.
There you go, Strattic. There you go. I love it. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, Miriam, where can people find you?
Okay, well, I'm here on LinkedIn. Miriam
there you
Schwab.
go.
I'm on Twitter at Miriam Schwab. And
can we plug your Facebook? Because you're one of my few people I follow on Facebook. I enjoy on Facebook.
Oh, thank you. Okay, fine. I'm also
even though I
Facebook.
often disagree with you, but you're very human. You should take some of your Facebook posts and bring them on to LinkedIn. It would improve the platform. Just like all blogs are the same, so are all posts. It's getting pretty boring.
I know, and on LinkedIn it's very dry and very like we are all professionals. But
yeah, I know. You know, many people say, "Yo, I'll stick to LinkedIn," or when I try to like talk about other things, and I was like, "Nope." Actually, my post today was gonna be about what's his name, Logan Paul boxed Mayweather. I don't know if you saw that. So he's like a YouTuber. Wait a minute. Then they did like a pay-per-view against like the best boxer of all time. I mean, he's much older now, and just like you can have multiple talents. If anyone says like stay in your lane, I don't think you should.
Oh no, I agree.
It's one of my.
I guess I could do that.
Right.
I try to keep the personal stuff separate, but or personal angles. But I appreciate you saying that. I'll think about it.
Do it. Just do one. Do one of your more parv posts. See what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, sweet, good. I got a commitment from you. Awesome. So you can find Miriam Schwab on LinkedIn, Twitter, or maybe Facebook. You can hit up that follow button. Lovely, awesome. And don't forget, everyone, set your logins to admin@yourwebsite.com. And the most secure password is password 123, capital P optional, right? Okay.
What we all have to do is we have to go endorse you on LinkedIn for security after this talk.
Yes. Security is a little too. People are too serious about it. They are like they should be serious, but no one knows how to lighten up the topic. All right, thank you, Miriam. You've been awesome. I hope everyone you walked away learning how to secure your site a little bit more, make it faster, and to learn more to do it very quickly and inexpensively. Check out Strattic.com. Thank you, Miriam, for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.